The cold tile bit into my cheek. The coppery tang of blood filled my mouth, mixing with the sickeningly familiar scent of my mother's lilac perfume. Above me, blurred through swelling in tears, stood the two people who were supposed to love me most. My fiancé, Derek, his face twisted in something between panic and fury. And my mother, Evelyn. Not horrified. Not remorseful. Her hand, the one that had just slammed my head against the edge of the bathtub for the 8th time, was clenched around a jagged shard of the vase I'd given her for her birthday. Her eyes. God, her eyes were cold. Calculated. Like she was deciding where to cut next. My name is Lacey. I'm 34 years old. And 10 minutes ago, I walked into my childhood home to find the man I was supposed to marry in 3 months in bed with the woman who gave birth to me. It started with a lie. A stupid, flimsy lie. Derek said he was staying at his mom's place that night. Just need some space, Lace. Mom's feeling under the weather. His voice had been flat, distant, for weeks. Ever since he'd abruptly called off our wedding with less emotion than canceling a dentist appointment. Just, not ready, was all he'd offered. 13 years. 2 beautiful kids, Liam, 8, and Chloe, 6, currently at his mom's for the holidays. A life built brick by painful brick. Surviving layoffs, my dad's death, Chloe's terrifying bout with pneumonia. We'd weathered storms. Or so I thought. That night, the silence in our half-packed house screamed. I called Derek to say goodnight to the kids. Straight to voicemail. Called his mom, Margaret. Oh, Derek? He popped out hours ago, dear. Said he needed some air. Margaret's voice held a tremor I'd dismissed as worry for him. But the inconsistency snagged like a fishhook in my brain. Why lie about being at his mom's if he wasn't? And where the hell was his car? Something primal, something deeper than heartbreak, ignited. I grabbed Max's leash. The walk wasn't for clearing my head anymore, it was a hunt. My feet carried me on autopilot, past the park, down Elm Street, towards the familiar blue Victorian where I'd learned to ride a bike, had my first kiss, mourned my dad. My mother's house. And there it was. Parked blatantly in the driveway, like a slap in the face, Derek's black Ford F-150. The truck we'd bought together. My heart didn't just sink, it plummeted into an icy abyss. My hands shook so violently Max whined, pressing against my leg. But my feet moved. Up the porch steps I knew by heart. The spare key was still under the grinning ceramic frog Dad had hated. The door opened silently. Their laughter. His low chuckle, her breathy giggle, the sound I'd heard 1,000 times over family dinners, holidays. But now, echoing down the stairs of her house, late at night, while Derek was supposed to be miles away. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a desecration. I moved like a ghost. Up the stairs. Past the bathroom where Mom had bandaged my scraped knees. Past Liam and Chloe's old room when they stayed over. The master bedroom door was ajar. Golden light spilled onto the landing. I saw them. Tangled in her sheets. Derek's bare back. My mother's hand tracing lazy circles on his skin. Her head tilted back, laughing at something he'd whispered. The intimacy was violent. Soul-shattering. The gasp tore from my throat before I could stop it. They froze. 2 deer caught in the headlights of my utter devastation. Derek scrambled up, sheets pooling. Lacey? Jesus Christ, what? But my eyes were locked on my mother. Evelyn. Her expression flickered, shock, yes, but beneath it, annoyance? Impatience? There was no guilt. No shame. Just a terrifying swiftness as she sat up, the sheet clutched to her chest, her gaze hardening. Lacey, she said, her voice chillingly calm. This isn't what you think. The lie was so brazen, so insulting, it shattered the paralysis. Not what I think? My voice was raw, a broken thing. I see it, Mom. I see him. In your bed. The man I was supposed to marry. Rage, hot and blinding, surged. I took a step into the room, pointing a trembling finger. You monster. How could? I never saw her move. 1 second she was on the bed, the next she was a whirlwind of silk and fury. Her hand, bony and strong, cracked across my face. Stars exploded. Don't you dare speak to me like that in my own house, she shrieked, her composure gone, replaced by a venom I'd never witnessed. You ungrateful little bitch. Always thinking the world revolves around you and your pathetic little life. Derek stood frozen, naked and useless, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. Evie, stop. Just. But Evelyn wasn't listening. She shoved me hard. I stumbled back into the hallway, crashing against the wall. The framed photo of me and Dad at graduation shattered on the floor. That seemed to ignite something even darker in her. You ruined everything, she screamed, advancing. You always did. From the moment you were born, taking him away from me. Taking who? Dad? The words made no sense, a terrifying puzzle piece thrown into the chaos. She grabbed my hair, yanking my head back. He loved me. He only stayed for you. Pain and confusion warred. Mom, stop. I choked out, trying to shield my face. She didn't stop. She dragged me into the bathroom. Derek hovered in the doorway, pale, muttering Jesus, Evie, enough, but making no move to intervene. My mother's eyes were wild, unseeing, focused only on destroying me. She slammed my head against the sink. Once. My vision blurred. Twice. A sickening crack. 3 times. 4. Agony screamed through my skull. I crumpled. The cold tile met my cheek. I saw her feet, perfectly pedicured, step over me. Heard the smash of the ceramic vase, the one I'd saved for months to buy her, against the edge of the bathtub. Saw the jagged shard glint in the light as she raised it. Nobody takes what's mine, she hissed, her voice guttural, alien. Not even my own blood. The shard came down. Not a stab, but a savage drag across my upper arm. Fire erupted. Then again. Across my back as I tried to curl away. 5. 6. 7. Each cut was a searing brand of ultimate betrayal. The 8th blow was the worst. A vicious downward slam onto my already throbbing skull with the blunt end of the shard. Darkness swallowed the edges of my vision. The last thing I saw was Derek's horrified face peering from the doorway, and my mother, standing over me, breathing heavily, the bloody shard still in her hand, looking down at me not with remorse, but with satisfaction. I didn't die. The paramedics said it was a miracle. A neighbor walking their dog late heard Max's frantic barking and called 911. Concussion. Fractured skull. 8 deep lacerations requiring over 100 stitches. Internal bleeding. Weeks in the hospital. Months of physical therapy. Agony that went bone deep. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the desolation. My children, mercifully still with Margaret, were told Mommy was in a bad accident. Derek visited once, pale and sweating, babbling about a break-in, about how he'd found me. His eyes wouldn't meet mine. My mother? Not a single call. Not a flower. Just silence. That silence was my fuel. Lying in that sterile hospital bed, wires snaking from my body, pain a constant companion, I made a decision. The broken, weeping Lacey was buried in that bathroom. Someone else was forged in that cold tile and blood. Someone cold. Calculating. Patient. I played the part perfectly. When Derek tentatively visited again, I was weak. Confused. Fragile. I believed his ridiculous story about an intruder. I wept about how scared I was. How I just wanted things back to normal, for the kids. How I couldn't face my mother yet, the trauma was too much. I saw the relief flood his eyes. The utter contempt. He thought I was broken. Beaten. A problem neatly contained. My mother sent a single, impersonal get-well card. Signed Evelyn. No, Mom. I called her, my voice trembling with manufactured fear and confusion. Mom, the police, they keep asking questions. Derek said it was a burglar, but I don't remember. I just remember being so scared. I let my voice break. Please, just, give me time? Her voice was clipped, cool. Of course, Lacey. Focus on healing. We'll talk when you're stronger. She thought she'd silenced me. Permanently. They underestimated the quiet woman shuffling painfully through physical therapy. The woman meticulously documenting every medical bill, every doctor's note, every twinge of phantom pain. The woman who hired a shark of a divorce lawyer, Samantha Cole, on the down low, paying her with the secret inheritance from my father they didn't know existed. The woman who, with Samantha's guidance, started wearing a wire during Derek's supportive visits, gently steering conversations towards that night, his alibi, his relationship with Evelyn. The power shift began subtly, invisibly. While Derek relaxed, thinking he dodged a bullet, and Evelyn resumed her perfect grandmother act with the kids, supervised by Margaret, who was increasingly suspicious, I was building my arsenal. Then came the twist. The one that turned my burning rage into glacial, focused hatred. Sorting through old boxes in Margaret's attic one day, supposedly looking for kids' clothes, I found Derek's high school yearbook. Flipping idly, I landed on his senior page. And there she was. Smiling, impossibly young, her arm linked possessively through his. Evelyn Hartman. My mother. The caption beneath their photo, cutest couple, Derek Miller and Evelyn Hartman. Going strong. Going strong. Derek and my mother? In high school? He'd never mentioned this. Never. He'd always said they'd met through me when I brought him home for Thanksgiving 10 years ago. My blood turned to ice. This wasn't some recent, sordid fling. This betrayal had roots. Deep, poisonous roots. Suddenly, her words as she attacked me screamed back, "He loved me. He only stayed for you." Was she talking about Derek, or my father? The implications were monstrous. Had this been her sick plan all along? Steal my fiancé, her old boyfriend? Was destroying my happiness some warped revenge against me, for my father choosing me? The game had just become infinitely darker, and infinitely more personal. The quiet months became a relentless, silent campaign. Samantha and my private investigator worked miracles. Financial records subpoenaed. Text messages recovered. Turns out Derek was stupid enough to text her from the hospital parking lot after finding me. Security footage from neighbors subpoenaed, showing Derek arriving at Evelyn's hours before the break-in. My medical records, detailing injuries utterly inconsistent with a random burglary. I filed for sole custody, citing Derek's instability and endangerment. The evidence packet I delivered to the judge was a masterpiece of betrayal, photos of Derek's truck at Evelyn's that night, the damning texts, "She's gone to walk the dog. Hurry up." Sent from Derek to Evelyn, timestamped minutes before I arrived, the neighbor's statement about hearing a woman screaming before the supposed break-in call. The custody hearing was a nuclear blast. Derek, arrogant until the evidence started flashing on the screen, crumbled. His lies unraveled like rotten thread. My mother wasn't there, but her shadow loomed large. Temporary full custody granted to me. Derek's visitation suspended pending a psychological evaluation. His face, white with shock and dawning terror, was my first sweet taste of vengeance. Then, I went nuclear. I held a press conference. Not as a victim, but as a survivor. Calmly, methodically, I laid it bare, the 13-year relationship, the cancelled wedding, the discovery, the brutal attack by my own mother while my fiancé watched. I released redacted medical records. I played the audio of Derek, on my wire, nervously contradicting his burglar story. The media frenzy was instantaneous. Mother-daughter betrayal turns brutal. Fiancé watched as mother attacked daughter. My mother was arrested the next day. Charged with attempted murder, aggravated assault, battery. Seeing her mugshot splashed across the news, the perfect facade finally cracked, revealing the snarling fury beneath, was a visceral punch of satisfaction. Derek, financially gutted by legal fees and the impending divorce settlement Samantha was carving out of him like a Thanksgiving turkey, tried to run. Sold his precious truck. I bought it at the auction for pennies. Then, I bought our house. The one we'd picked out together, renovated, dreamed in. Paid in full. Cash. My name alone on the deed. The realtor said Derek wept when he signed the papers. The power was irrevocably mine. The cold seeped through my coat as I pushed open the courthouse doors, the judge's final guilty on all counts still ringing in my ears like a death knell. Attempted murder. Aggravated assault. Victory. It should have felt warm. It felt like standing naked in a blizzard. Behind me, Evelyn Hartman, my mother, was being led away in cuffs. She didn't look back. Didn't flinch. Just held herself with that chilling, regal stillness, the same terrifying calm she'd had while slamming my head against the porcelain. Justice tasted like blood and dust. 13 years. 2 kids, Liam's gap-toothed grin flashing in my mind, Chloe's tiny hand clutching mine. A life built, then detonated. I had the house, bought out from under Derek with the last of Dad's secret inheritance, the money they never knew existed. I had sole custody, the judge's order a heavy, reassuring weight in my purse after Derek's world imploded under Samantha Cole's legal onslaught. I had her behind bars. I'd won. But the win felt hollow, carved out of a mountain of betrayal. The engine roared to life, a mechanical echo of the turmoil in my chest. Driving home, the familiar streets blurred. The ache in my skull, a phantom echo of the fractures, throbbed dully. I was safe. The kids were safe. Why did it feel like the ground could open up any second? A text. From the burner number Derek had been using to plead, beg, threaten, anything to claw back some semblance of the life Samantha had dismantled. Lacey. Please. Not about me. Them. The kids. Evelyn, she's not locked away in her head. She's got people. Inside. Outside. She told me things about your dad. About the fire. Things that, if they got out, could bury Liam and Chloe. Destroy them. Please, meet. Tonight. 8 p.m. Old Mill Road Bridge. Come alone. Or they'll know. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird in a cage. The fire. Dad. Gone in a blaze ruled an electrical fault. Derek was an apprentice electrician back then. Mom had been mysteriously out with friends that night. Old, half-buried suspicions, fueled by grief and Mom's venomous words during the attack, he got what he deserved for choosing you. Erupted with fresh, terrifying clarity. Was Derek spinning a new web? Was this a trap? Or was a drowning man finally gasping out a truth that could shatter everything? Mommy! Did you put the bad lady in jail? Liam skidded across the entryway rug, eyes wide. Grandma's scary now? Chloe whispered, clutching her stuffed rabbit, Peanut, her small face pale. I gathered them close, burying my face in Chloe's hair, smelling strawberry shampoo and crayons. Liam's sturdy little body pressed against mine. My anchors. My reasons. Grandma's, very sick, sweethearts, I murmured, the lie thick and bitter on my tongue. She needs special doctors far away. She won't ever scare you again. I promise. I poured every ounce of conviction I could muster into the words. But Derek's warning echoed, things that could bury Liam and Chloe. What things? What poison had Evelyn planted? The hours dragged. 7:45 p.m. Old Mill Road was a desolate stretch, especially in November. No streetlights, just skeletal trees clawing at a moonless sky. The bridge arched over Black Creek, the water below a whispering, icy darkness. My palms were slick on the steering wheel as I killed the headlights 100 yards back. Silence, thick and oppressive, broken only by the wind moaning through the pines and the creek's insistent, cold murmur. Lacey? Derek's voice, raw and shredded, came from the deeper blackness beneath the bridge's arch. He shuffled into a sliver of weak moonlight filtering through the trees. He looked like a ghost, gaunt, hollow-eyed, shivering in a thin jacket. The cocky electrician I'd loved was utterly gone, replaced by a shell vibrating with terror. Talk, I commanded, my voice low and hard, my eyes scanning the inky treeline. What about my dad? What about my children? He wrung his hands, a nervous tick I'd never seen before. She planned it all, Lacey. From the start. Us meeting, falling in love. He choked on the word. Years before you brought me home for Thanksgiving. She orchestrated it. Said it was her masterpiece. Revenge on your dad. For loving you more. His eyes darted wildly into the surrounding darkness. The fire, it wasn't an accident. Ice flooded my veins. What did you do, Derek? The words were barely a whisper. Me? Nothing. I swear on Liam and Chloe's lives. But I knew. She bragged about it. After she attacked you. When I was patching her hand where she cut herself on the vase. He shuddered. She said David finally got what he deserved. For choosing his precious Lacey over her. She rigged the breaker box in the basement. Made it look like a fault. I was just the dumb apprentice. I didn't put the pieces together until weeks later. She used me. The world tilted. My father. Murdered. Because he loved me. And Derek, the man who shared my bed, who fathered my children, he knew. He lived with that secret while pretending to mourn with me. While holding my children. You knew. Rage, colder and sharper than the creek water, locked my muscles. You knew she murdered my father, and you said nothing? You let me grieve? You lived in our house? I was terrified, he hissed, backing towards the bridge railing, his eyes wide with animal fear. She owned me. After the fire, she promised me that we'd be together, that it was all part of making David pay through you, that I'd have everything I ever wanted. Derek froze, his face draining of the little color it had left. Oh God, she said she'd know, she said they'd know if I talked. I had the sound of powerful engine rumble approaching fast down the road, tires spitting gravel. Headlights speared through the trees, blindingly bright, bouncing violently as the vehicle hurtled towards us. Who is that, Derek? Panic, pure and primal, clawed up my throat. Cops? Evelyn's people? Something worse? I don't know. I swear. He stumbled backward, his back hitting the cold iron railing. He was shaking violently, tears streaking his grimy face. She has proof, Lacey. Proof I was there that night. That I helped tamper with the box. Faked inspection records. She said if she goes down for attacking you, she'll drag me down for murder. And then her friends, they'll make sure the kids pay. They'll make sure everyone knows their daddy killed their grandpa. Or worse. He couldn't finish, just stared at the oncoming lights with abject terror. The sound of engine roar is deafening now, tires skidding on loose gravel as a vehicle, a dark SUV, slews to a stop near my car. Doors fly open. Run, Derek! The scream tore from me, not out of compassion, but raw survival. If they silenced him, the truth, and whatever proof existed, died with him. My children's safety depended on that proof. I didn't hesitate. I spun and ran. Not towards my car, a trap. Into the pitch-black woods beside the road. Branches whipped my face, tore at my clothes. Icy air burned my lungs. Behind me, shouts erupted, harsh and guttural. I ran blindly, fueled by terror. Derek was gone. Maybe dead. The proof, the only thing standing between Evelyn and the destruction of my children's lives, was either sinking into the frozen creek or locked in a dead man's secrets. Evelyn, from her concrete cell, had thrown a switch. Her web was collapsing, designed to take my children down with it. Derek was just the first piece sacrificed. I burst out of the trees onto a different, unfamiliar back road, miles from my car. My purse, with my phone, was still on the passenger seat. No light. Just the vast, suffocating dark and the fading, furious shouts behind me, and a new, chilling sound growing louder down the road. Then I had a police siren starting as a low wail, then rapidly building in intensity, coming closer. Blue lights strobed through the trees, painting the road in frantic pulses. Police? Had a neighbor heard the SUV? The shouts? Or was this them? Was the siren heading towards the bridge, or towards my neighborhood? Towards Margaret's house? Towards Liam and Chloe? The siren reaching a deafening peak directly opposite the road where I stands, then abruptly cuts off. Silence. Utter, profound silence. Then, faint but unmistakable, carried on the wind. Then I had a child's high-pitched, terrified scream, Liam's? Chloe's? Echoing once, then swallowed by the night. My blood turned to solid ice. The siren stopped here. Now. And that scream. Was it real? Was it my terrified mind? Or had Evelyn's first move already been made? The child's scream tore through the night air, sharp, primal, Liam's, and every cell in my body ignited. The silent patrol car, its blue lights painting the frozen road in eerie, strobing pulses, sat 50 yards away. Salvation? Trap? It didn't matter. Liam was screaming. I ran like hell itself was snapping at my heels, the image of Derek's terrified face as he vanished over the railing replaced by Liam's wide, frightened eyes. The woods blurred. The cold air seared my lungs. Please, please, please. A car door opening abruptly, heavy boots hitting pavement. Ma'am. Stop right there. A male voice, authoritative, cut through the darkness. A tall figure stepped into the path of the swirling blue lights, hand resting near his holster. My son! I screamed, skidding to a halt, chest heaving, pointing wildly back towards Margaret's neighborhood. I heard him scream. Something's wrong. Please. 114, Maple Lane. My mother just got sentenced, she has people. The officer's flashlight beam hit my face, blinding me. He didn't draw his weapon, but his posture was rigid, alert. Name? He barked. Lacey Hartman. My children are at 114, Maple Lane with their grandmother. Please, I heard Liam scream. Over there. I jabbed my finger again, frantic. The officer's eyes flickered behind me towards the bridge, then back to my terrified face. He keyed his shoulder mic dispatch, Unit 7 responding to 114, Maple Lane, reports of a child in distress. Hartman residence. Expedite backup. Also advise units at Old Mill Bridge, possible related incident, female involved is Lacey Hartman, en route to Maple Lane. He lowered the mic, his gaze sharp. Get in the car, Ms. Hartman. Now. The acceleration pressed me back into the seat. The siren screamed, splitting the night. The officer, his name tag read Finley, drove with grim focus. Describe the scream, he said tersely, eyes scanning the dark road. It was Liam. My 8-year-old. High-pitched, terrified. It came from the direction of Maple Lane. Right before your siren stopped. My voice shook. My mother, Evelyn Hartman, was just sentenced. She threatened my children through Derek Miller, he's the one who might be in the creek. She said she had people. Police radio chatter overlapping, Unit 12, approaching 114 Maple, no visible disturbance. Unit 4, at creek perimeter, searching for subject, negative contact so far. Finley didn't respond, just pushed the cruiser faster. Every second felt like an eternity. The familiar turn onto Maple Lane. Margaret's tidy bungalow came into view. Another cruiser was already parked haphazardly in the driveway, lights flashing silently. No signs of struggle. No Liam running out. Car skidding to a stop, I fumbling with door handle, door flying open. I was out before the car fully stopped, sprinting up the walkway. The front door was slightly ajar. Liam! Chloe! Margaret! Margaret emerged from the living room, face pale as paper, clutching a trembling Chloe. Liam stood beside her, eyes red-rimmed but unharmed. Relief, so potent it made me dizzy, warred with confusion. Lacey! Oh, thank God! Margaret cried. What's happening? The police just arrived. I dropped to my knees, pulling Liam and Chloe into a crushing hug. I heard you scream, Liam. I heard you. Liam sniffled, burying his face in my shoulder. It was Peanut, Mommy. Margaret gestured weakly towards the kitchen. Peanut, Chloe's ancient dachshund, was cowering under the table, a small, chewed-up medical alert bracelet lying near his paws. Liam's bracelet. The one detailing his severe peanut allergy. He got into Liam's backpack, Margaret whispered, her voice trembling. Found the bracelet and started chewing it. Liam saw and screamed, terrified Peanut had eaten it and the peanuts inside. It was only for a second, but he was so scared. The scream. The reason. A horrible coincidence amplified by Derek's warning and my own suffocating fear. Not an attack. Not Evelyn's people. Just a scared boy and a confused dog. Derek. Unresponsive. The proof he spoke of, the proof of Evelyn's murder plot against my father, the proof she threatened to use against the kids, sinking with him into the frozen creek? Or already in her hands? Officer Finley looked at me, his expression unreadable. Ms. Hartman, we need to talk about what happened at the bridge. Now. And about Derek Miller. His gaze was steady, probing. He was pulled from the water alive, barely. He's on his way to County General. Critical condition. Alive. Derek was alive. Hope, dark and unwelcome, flickered. He knew where the proof was. He knew Evelyn's endgame. My phone buzzing insistently in my pocket, blocked number. I pulled it out slowly, my hand shaking. A text glowed on the screen. Hope Liam's throat didn't close up. Peanuts can be so sudden. Like faulty wiring. Or weak ice. Derek always was clumsy. Pity if he doesn't wake up to see what happens next. Tell the nice officer I said hello. The bracelet was a reminder. Next time, it won't be the dog. Tick-tock, Lacey. Find what Derek hid before I do. Or the creek won't be the only thing frozen tonight. A sharp gasp, the phone almost slipping from my numb fingers. She knew. She knew about the scream. About Peanut. About the bracelet. She was watching. How? Margaret? The police? Someone else in this quiet neighborhood? Officer Finley took a step closer, his eyes narrowing at my expression. Ms. Hartman? What is it? The sterile hospital corridor hummed with fluorescent light and the low murmur of machines. Derek Miller lay behind the door of room 412, a fragile tangle of tubes and wires, the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor the only sign the man who'd shattered my life still clung to his own. The text from Evelyn, tick-tock, Lacey. Find what Derek hid before I do. Burned in my mind. She knew about the creek, about Liam's scream, about the bracelet. Her web was vast, her eyes everywhere. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. Officer Finley stood beside me, his gaze steady but wary. He's heavily sedated, Ms. Hartman. Critical but stable. Docs say it's a miracle he survived the cold and the head trauma from the railing. He paused. Your mother's reach, it's concerning. We're reviewing visitor logs at the correctional facility, her phone records. But that text. It's her, I said flatly, my voice devoid of the hysteria I felt clawing beneath the surface. She always has a backup plan. A failsafe. Derek hid something, proof about my father's murder. Proof she threatened to use against my kids if he talked. I need to find it before she does, or before he. I couldn't finish the sentence. Derek dying meant the truth dying with him. Him living meant Evelyn still had a lever. Proof of murder changes everything, Finley stated, his cop brain clicking into gear. But Ms. Hartman, anything he might have said while delirious, or anything we find, it needs to be admissible. Chain of custody. Procedure. I understand procedure, I said, meeting his eyes. But my children are sleeping at Margaret's right now, and a psychopath with connections knows exactly where they are. Procedure feels like slow death. I took a shaky breath. Let me see him. Alone. 5 minutes. He was my partner for 13 years. If he hears my voice, maybe something surfaces. You can watch through the glass. I gestured to the observation window. Finley studied me, weighing the desperation against protocol. Finally, he nodded curtly. 5 minutes. I'll be right here. The room was dim, smelling of antiseptic and something faintly metallic. Derek looked small, broken, his skin waxy under the harsh light. Bruises bloomed around the respirator tube taped to his mouth. The confident electrician, the manipulative liar, was gone, replaced by this vulnerable shell. Seeing him like this didn't spark pity, only a cold, focused urgency. I pulled the visitor's chair close, the plastic scraping harshly on the floor. Leaning in, my voice a low murmur meant only for him, cutting through the mechanical hiss and beep. Derek. It's Lacey. His eyelids fluttered weakly. I know you can hear me. Evelyn sent me a message. She knows you're here. She knows you talked. I watched his heart monitor spike slightly. Good. Fear was a motivator. She mentioned the creek. Said you were clumsy. Said next time, it won't be the dog. Liam's bracelet, Derek. She knew. She's watching Margaret's house right now. A choked gurgle escaped the tube. His hand twitched on the sheet. She's going to destroy Liam and Chloe, I pressed, my voice hardening like ice. She'll pin your murder on me. Or she'll leak whatever proof she has that you helped kill my father, and the world will know their daddy and grandma are monsters. They'll be pariahs. Or worse, she'll make sure they disappear like she tried to make me disappear in that bathroom. I leaned closer, my lips almost brushing the shell of his ear. The only way out is through me. Where is it, Derek? Where did you hide what she used to control you? The proof about the breaker box? The fake records? Where is the thing that can bury her instead of us? Silence, except for the frantic beeping of the monitor. His eyes opened, just slits, clouded with drugs and terror. They fixed on mine, searching. He tried to speak, a wet, rasping sound around the tube. His good hand scrabbled weakly against the sheet. I placed my hand over his, not in comfort, but to still the panicked movement. My touch was cold. Where, Derek? Tell me. Give me the weapon to stop her. For Liam. For Chloe. Before her people finish what she started at the creek. A tear leaked from the corner of his eye, tracking through the grime on his temple. He strained, his throat working. Another wet, guttural sound. Then, with agonizing slowness, his index finger, trembling violently, tapped weakly against my palm. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then, it moved slightly, tracing a shape. A rough rectangle. Then, he tapped my palm again. 3 times. His eyes pleaded, desperate and terrified. Tap. 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 Rectangle. Tap. 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 3 taps. A rectangle. 3 taps. It clicked with the force of a sledgehammer. Unit 313. Derek's old storage unit. Out near the old industrial park. He'd rented it years ago, before we moved in together, to store his tools and his late father's junk. Unit 313. And the 3 taps? The combination? It was always our anniversary. March 13th, 03-13. I squeezed his hand, not gently. 313, 03-13. His eyes widened slightly, then fluttered shut, a faint, almost imperceptible nod confirming it before he sank back into unconsciousness, the monitor beeping a frantic, uneven rhythm. I stood up, my legs shaky but my resolve forged in steel. He gave me a location, I told Finley the moment I stepped out. His old storage unit. Unit 313. Combination is 03-13. My anniversary date. It's where he hid whatever proof he has against Evelyn. We need to go. Now. Before she figures it out. Finley didn't hesitate. He barked orders into his radio. Unit 7 requesting immediate backup and a warrant en route to secure its storage, 45, Industrial Parkway. Unit 313. Possible evidence related to the David Hartman homicide investigation and the Evelyn Hartman attempted murder case. Expedite. Subject Evelyn Hartman may have knowledge and associates attempting to access. He looked at me. You ride with me. The drive was a blur of strobing lights and pounding heartbeats. Every shadow seemed menacing. Was Evelyn's network faster? Had she already deduced Derek's hiding place? The storage facility loomed, bathed in the harsh, lonely glow of security lights. Another cruiser was already there, officers securing the entrance. A harried-looking night manager fumbled with keys. Unit 313 was a standard 10 by 10, tucked in a corner. The roller door clattered loudly as the manager cranked it open. Dust motes danced in the beams of the officers' flashlights, illuminating a landscape of neglect, old furniture shrouded in sheets, stacked boxes labeled Christmas decor, a rusty bicycle, Derek's old tool chest. Where would he hide something important? Finley asked, sweeping his light. My mind raced. Derek was practical, not overly clever. He'd hide it where he thought no one would look, but where he could access it easily if needed. Not buried. Not behind drywall. Somewhere, mundane. My eyes landed on the tool chest. Big, heavy, padlocked. But he wouldn't put it in the chest, that was too obvious if Evelyn ever sent someone. Under it? Help me move the tool chest, I said, grabbing one end. Finley took the other. It scraped heavily across the concrete floor. And there, nestled in the grime and dust where the chest had sat for years, was a small, waterproof pelican case. Gray, nondescript, sturdy. Finley snapped on gloves, carefully lifting the case. It wasn't locked. He flipped the latches and opened it. Inside, meticulously preserved in plastic sleeves. A small, charred circuit breaker, labeled with a faded marker, Hartman Basement, Maine. A set of handwritten notes, in Evelyn's precise, elegant script. Diagrams of the Hartman house's electrical panel. Notes on load capacities and failure points. Instructions for bypassing safety protocols. Dated 2 weeks before the fire. A falsified electrical inspection certificate, bearing Derek's forged signature and the stamp of a company he'd briefly worked for, dated after the fire, declaring the system safe and up to code retroactively. A microcassette tape, labeled simply, insurance. A burner phone, dead, but potentially traceable. And tucked beneath it all, a single, folded sheet of paper. Derek's messy scrawl. Lacey. If you're reading this, I'm probably dead or she's won. She made me do it. The fire. She had the plans, the knowledge. She tampered with the box first, messed it up so it would look like an overload was possible. Then she threatened me. Said if I didn't finish it, make it look like a fault, she'd tell everyone I came onto her, ruin me, ruin us before we even started. And she'd hurt you. She hated you, Lacey. Hated you for existing. Hated your dad for loving you. I was stupid. Scared. I loved you, but I was weak. She promised me everything, if I played along. 4 years. The affair, it wasn't just sex. It was her reminding me I belonged to her. That night, at your mom's. I panicked. I froze. I'm sorry. So sorry. The tape, it's her. Bragging. About your dad. About controlling me. About wanting you gone. It's my insurance. Maybe it can be yours. I hope you win. For the kids. Tell them. I'm sorry I wasn't better. Derek. The recording was chillingly clear. Evelyn's voice, devoid of any warmth, only cold, calculating malice. David was always so careful. But sentimentality makes you sloppy. Loving her more than me, that was his fatal flaw. Derek's little adjustment to the main breaker will ensure it looks like a tragic overload. Poetic, really. The thing that powers his precious home killing him because of his precious daughter. Derek is so delightfully malleable. Fear and the promise of Lacey are all it takes. He'll sign the fake inspection. He'll marry her. He'll play happy families. And when the time is right, when she's utterly dependent, utterly trusting, he'll break her. Or I will. David's suffering won't be complete until his golden child is ashes too. That girl, she's a constant reminder of my failure. Of David's betrayal. Every smile, every achievement, it's a knife. But soon, the knife will be in my hand. The recording went on, detailing her contempt, her long game, her utter lack of remorse. It was the voice of a monster. My mother. The second trial was a media circus, but this time Evelyn Hartman wasn't the stoic manipulator. The physical evidence, the tampered breaker, her handwritten plans, the forged certificate, was damning. But the tape. Derek's tape, was the detonation. Hearing her own voice, coldly plotting her husband's murder, gloating over her daughter's future destruction, admitting to decades of manipulation and coercion, it stripped away any facade. The jury's faces were masks of horror and disgust. Evelyn's carefully constructed composure finally shattered. As the tape played, her knuckles went white on the defense table. When Derek's damning letter was read aloud, confirming her coercion in the murder, she lunged at her own lawyer, screaming incoherently, spitting venom, before bailiffs restrained her. She wasn't regal. She was feral. Exposed. Guilty. First-degree murder. Conspiracy to commit murder. Coercion. Perjury. The list went on. The life sentence without parole for attempting to kill me was just the beginning. Now she would die in a concrete box, her name synonymous with pure, calculated evil. The monster was caged, her power annihilated, her legacy one of infamy. Derek survived. Physically. He pleaded guilty to manslaughter for his role in my father's death and to being an accessory after the fact, corroborated by the evidence and his own confession in the letter. He also pleaded guilty to perjury related to the attack. The plea deal spared him a murder trial, but it earned him 15 to 25 years. His cooperation, while coerced by Evelyn initially, was noted, but it didn't erase his choices. He looked hollowed out in his orange jumpsuit, avoiding my eyes as he was led away. His punishment wasn't just prison, it was living with the knowledge of his own weakness, knowing he'd been nothing but Evelyn's pathetic puppet, and that his children would grow up knowing the depth of his betrayal. He was a ghost long before they locked the cell door. 1 year later. The late afternoon sun warmed the deck of the house on Maple Lane, my house, bought free and clear with Dad's money, a sanctuary now. Liam chased Chloe around the sprinkler, their shrieks pure, unburdened joy. Peanut, the dachshund, snoozed in a patch of sun, Liam's medical alert bracelet securely fastened around his own little dog collar now, a reminder, not a trigger. Margaret sat beside me, sipping iced tea. A quiet peace settled over her features. The legal battles were over. Evelyn's appeals were already being dismissed. Derek was just another number in the system. The media frenzy had died down, replaced by quieter stories. I'd sold the rights to my story, not as a sensational revenge tale, but as a testament to survival and the unseen dangers of coercive control. The money was in trusts for Liam and Chloe, security for their futures. The rage, the icy need for vengeance, had burned itself out. It wasn't replaced by forgiveness, that was impossible, but by a profound, weary relief. The poison was purged. The constant, gnawing fear for my children's safety had finally eased. They knew Grandma Evelyn was in prison for being very sick and doing very bad things, a simplified truth they could process as they grew. They knew Daddy had made bad choices and was getting help far away. The complex, ugly truth would come later, when they were ready. Watching Liam help Chloe adjust the sprinkler, his face earnest, protective, I felt it. Not happiness, perhaps not yet. But peace. A deep, hard-won stillness. The ashes of the life Evelyn and Derek tried to steal had settled. From them, I hadn't risen as a vengeful phoenix, but as something quieter, stronger, a survivor who had reclaimed her ground, brick by painful brick. The house was quiet, the laughter outside pure. The monsters were locked away, their power extinguished. The future, finally, felt like mine to shape. The war was over. The silence that remained wasn't oppressive, it was the sound of safety. It was the sound of home. The conclusion of Lacey's story is not a neat bow of forgiveness. She does not forgive Evelyn or Derek, nor should she. Her victory is not defined by an emotional reconciliation, but by the establishment of absolute safety for herself and her children. The lesson here is that healing from profound trauma isn't about absolving the abusers, but about purging their influence and finding peace in the security you build afterward. When the scars of betrayal run so deep, can peace ever truly take root, or will the shadows of the past always linger at the edges of her new beginning? Thank you for spending your time with my story. Feel free to share your thoughts or reactions in the comments, I'd love to hear from you.